Issue number 3 of Last Page is underway. And you might think from the first 2 episodes where we talked about how terrible Ant-Man was and how Marvel Phase 4 was disappointing, you might think this is one of those shows where we just complain about everything, where we just talk about how everything's terrible, how everything's awful. No. This is not that type of show. I'm Maverick King, my brother Remington King. He has no voice. He lost his voice over the course of battle. Jason Cedars joining us via the powers of the internet. We're here to talk about our favorite goodness from the last year. See, we don't want to just talk about all the terrible things. There's plenty of good things out there. So we're going to talk about our top 5 movies of 2022. We all have a different number 1. Remington, why don't you start us off with what you consider to be your favorite movie of the year 2022?
My number one is Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was the movie that I saw that I think gave me the greatest amount of enjoyment. Just, yeah, top to bottom. I think that is the number one movie, I would say.
Yes, and Jason, what of all the movies you saw cracks the list at number 1?
A lot of really good movies this year. And there was one that shone above them all that will go down in history as probably one of the biggest, most amazing blockbuster movies of all time. We'll be talking about this movie for years and years to come. It is that classic RRR.
And it's RRR, it's not triple R.
RRR. I mean, Hindi. It stands for, I guess, what? Rise, Revolt, Revolution. I think is Rise, Roar, Revolt is the R's that stand for. But probably translational things or something like that. I don't know what the movie is really named in Hindi. It probably is RR. But yes, RRR.
I see. And of course, you both are wrong about your number 1s. The best movie of last year, it's not even close, was Top Gun Maverick. An absolute cinematic masterpiece. The greatest movie star that the world has ever known. Tom Cruise bringing his skills. Steven Spielberg himself thanked Tom Cruise profusely, saying he saved movie theaters. What a heroic act it was for him to go out and make such a masterpiece of a movie. Jason, for some reason, it's not on your list. Remy, it's on your list at number 3, I believe. What did you like about Top Gun Maverick?
It's really fun. I mean, it's anytime you're gonna bring back bring in a sequel from how many years later?
1984.
So 36.
No, we're past that.
38.
2020.
Oh, it's 2023. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
38.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 38 years later. That's like it's obviously a bit of a trend right now. It's just bringing back nostalgic things for the sake of nostalgia. But I think is pulled off for the most part. I think it was pulled off very well. Tom Cruise has established himself as somebody who can just produce like baseline good movies. He hasn't missed on a movie in I don't know how long. And so I think this movie just has a good blend of like nostalgia, a little too much for my taste, but it has like the good moments, good supporting cast. Miles Teller, John Hamm, I think really helped kind of bring this movie together. But yeah, I think it's just plain and simple. Watch that movie; it's fun. Oh, but the best part of the movie for sure is just the cinematography. The visuals that we get in this movie are unlike any other movie in the modern sense. No, everything that was done in this movie with actual planes would be CG. It would just be CGI in any other movie, any other setting. Nobody's taking the effort and time to put out this kind of product, and so I really appreciate it for that.
Yeah, if you watch, there was that trailer with the Jonathan Majors movie with the same guy from Top Gun, right. Where it's a World War II pilot, movie, and it's all CGI. And just going from Top Gun, from watching that and the practicality of all the cameras they strapped to these planes and the actors that had to take cameras and literally move the camera while they were in the cockpit to capture them. And they had no idea that if the footage even worked. A lot of times they would go up and like Miles Teller multiple times came back down and like he forgot to record. And that was how they filmed a lot of these scenes. And then you see this trailer for this other Hollywood movie where they're trying to be pilots in World War II, and it's all CGI, and it's so jarring. Just being like, oh, that's what most movies look like these days.
Yeah,
but it is just incredible. Like it's not breaking it, other than the cinematography. It's not breaking any new grounds as far as storytelling. It's hitting the same beats of the first movie, but it was so refreshing to finally see a movie that is a sequel or a reboot or whatever you want to call it of a long time favorite movie from the 80s. And it's not, oh, here's Tom Cruise, he's a piece of shit loser. Here's he's past his prime and no one likes him. It was just a great way of taking his character and kind of the young hotshot and the guy that's gotten older but has missed on opportunities. The way that they intertwined his story with Val Kilmer and Iceman, and Val Kilmer being the guy that always was able to keep Maverick going and basically save his job multiple times. It made sense for the story to incorporate Val Kilmer into the movie, and it wasn't just done because, oh, remember Val Kilmer? He was in the last movie. It just further shows how much care someone like Tom Cruise puts into his movies, as opposed to just being like, oh yeah, I made a movie, let's just make a sequel and I can make more money. So, Jason, did you have any thoughts on Top Gun, or did you want to get into Triple R?
No. I definitely want to comment on Top Gun because, I mean, you guys hit the highs and the lows in the movie for me. And it was the cinematography as far as the planes and the flying and in the cockpit, and made you really feel like you're right there, not some green screen or CGI fest, But I mean, that was a top point, but the low point being, yeah, it was a rehash of a movie, 38 years ago, it like almost beat for beat. And we beat up the new Star Wars movies, the trilogy, doing that exact same thing where it's like, okay, if it's not broke, let's not fix it, So I really, really wanted them to try to do something different besides that same kind of, I mean, even like the beach scene, the volleyball stuff, and then like the bar scene playing the piano, like the highlights of the first movie of what it was classically known for. It's like, okay, we're just gonna do that again, So I felt it was a little weak in those areas, but it did definitely shine in the cockpit, the flying ones, but I mean, not enough for it to be on my top 5 though, because I didn't see the theaters. And then when it finally came out on Prime Video, it took me a long time to watch it. And then when I did watch it, I don't even think I did it all in one setting. It took me a couple times to get it finished. So it just showed my kind of interest in the movie. And so, yeah, that was a telling sign for me, but I'm glad you guys liked it. I'm glad Tom Cruise just can come in and just dance around on screen for a little while and everyone loves him.
Well, I will say, yes, they definitely, there was a nostalgia element to the first 30, 45 minutes, which I did feel like was a little too much with Miles Teller playing the exact same Great Balls of Fire song that his dad did. They didn't need to play it that close. But I will say, there was nothing more awesome than dogfight football that they played on the beach. I mean, come on. Glistening Tom Cruise and glistening Miles Teller just showing the 8-pack off, and the soundtrack in that scene was incredible. Like, that was awesome. I don't care what you say, but we need more scenes like that. There's not enough scenes that show men being as sexy as possible in the greatest way possible, which is playing football on a beach. We need
RRR tops it. There's more bromance scenes in that movie than all the Top Guns put together.
So yeah, fair enough. Let's talk about Triple R.
Perfect segue. Yes.
Remy and I did not see this movie, but I've heard nothing but great things. This is your number one, Jason.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's a interesting movie to try to put into one word. I mean, it hits all the bases of a huge blockbuster movie for me. And I mean, if I told you half the things that actually happened in this movie, you wouldn't believe me. So it's hard to describe this movie without someone just like shaking their head, in their hand. But it's so well done. The craziness of, okay, so they use animals a lot in this movie. They're CG'd, but it is so well done that you kind of forget sometimes. And there's one scene where a tiger is running at him, and he runs full speed at this tiger, grabs a piece of flaming wreckage as he's running towards this tiger, strapped it to his hand, jumps midair in the as the tiger does too, and punches the tiger in the face and just like lands down. It's like this anime like action movie, big 80s kind of blockbuster from back in the day feeling to it all across the movie. And I mean, that's just a small like little piece of how absolutely wild this movie is. It's a ride from the beginning to end, which is a 3 hour and 10-minute movie. So it is it is an epic movie that definitely has a roller coaster, ups and downs, where it's establishing each character and then trying to get some story in there too, and then of course big fight scenes scattered throughout it. But based on real Indian history, of two real Indian guys that were part of the colonialism during the 1920s, I think it's where it's set in. So it's like the whole 1900s or 19th century of the colonial invasion of India, and then living with this, white rule, and a lot of the Indian officers being in the army. And so it's this whole thing of the Indians wanting to revolt against the army, but there's a lot of Indians in the army, and the whole kind of juxtaposition of that, which I haven't seen much about that history. And even after watching this movie, I'm like doing some Google searches and looking a little bit more into Indian history because of this. And it was really interesting how much it was accurate, but I mean, it's a huge, cultural fuck you to the British. And the entire time, it makes the white British guys look absolutely like horrible. It's the Stan Lee or not Stan Lee, Spike Lee white guy rendition in a lot of his movies, where I just think of that Family Guy scene too, where it shows the white guys just like rah 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 rah, and they're just like spits flying out of their mouth. They're being all dumb in every Spike Lee movie. This is how I felt like they were portraying a lot of the British rulers or during that time, and a lot of the British army. But the sheer volume of the plot of this movie is, I if I sat here and tried to describe it to you, you would be like, okay, this can't be the basis of this movie at all. But it is. It's all about his sister getting taken in the beginning because she is such a good hand tattoo artist. The henna tattoo artist. She is such a good artist that the white woman wants her for herself, and so she steals her from this village, and the brother is not going to have that. And so it's his whole mission to take his sister back. And along the way, the top military officer is an Indian guy, and you come to find out at the end, the twist is that he's also Hey, no.
Spoil a movie. This is not
No.
This is sell movie time.
Oh man, I mean, that is one of the selling points of this movie, and I feel
Is it
like
to tell the ending? What are you, a trailer?
You're right.
Okay.
Watch this movie. He says 3 hours and 10 minutes.
You won't
There's
watch
a
this
0%
movie.
chance.
What? I've watched plenty of 3-hour
Yeah,
movies.
we watched terrible movies like The Irishman.
That's not a
The
terrible movie.
Irishman.
The disrespect. I will not take Irishman disrespect. We were not here to talk about the greatest movies of 2019, which we could be here all day talking about how great The Irishman is. Needless to say, it does sound great. Like,
I'm forcing you guys to watch this movie, so you're right. I probably should try not to spoil this. It is one of those new movies that any person who comes over to my house, I'm like, okay, you got to sit down and watch at least
for 3 hours.
Okay, no. I can sell you on this movie in the first 20 minutes. In the first 20 minutes, this movie will blow your mind, where, yes, you get the abduction scene, but then it goes straight into the officer guy who's, the hidden sleeper, defending this tiny little base surrounded by literally 1,000 people. So it's these 5 guys sitting at this little hut, and there's a barbed wire fence and thousands of Indians around him. And they're all trying to hold, I don't know why they're holding this fort, but all of a sudden this guy throws a rock. It's slow motion rock, coming over all the people, goes right past all the officers, missing narrowly a couple guys, and hits the picture of the king on the wall. And picture comes down, shattering glass everywhere, and the picture removed from its frame. The officer in charge, get that man right now. Sends the lead officer, or this Indian guy, into the group of 1,000 people. And it starts as a fight scene of epic proportion that you will not see in any other movie of him grabbing this guy out of the 1,000 people, battling his way all the way through them and battling it back. And it is pure reality. Like, it's like, okay, actually this looks like how you would have to fight through all of these people to do this. It's not some like crazy like Hulk moves of him just battling through these people and them flying everywhere. It's like him hitting people's toes and then going for an eye and then grabbing someone's nuts, and then like how he does it through all of these people, and then grabs this guy, holds him by his arm the whole time, and then defends everyone off, coming back. And then that immediately goes into the other main character running through the woods, being chased by a wolf. And to finally stop the wolf from chasing him, he aggravates another tiger. And so the tiger and the wolf at the last scene headbutt as he moves out of the way at the last second, defeating both the tiger and the wolf at the same time. So it's like, you're sold, I promise you, by this first 20 minutes. And I need to like calm down because I'm getting so excited about talking about this movie again. It's like I want the Indian music playing right now as I'm talking about it, and you seeing the explosions and the scenes and the buddy action of this one, that the bromance that comes along with it. It's I cannot say enough good things about this movie.
Yeah, so that movie, a lot of people love that movie a lot. But probably the most consistent movie that I've seen at everyone's number one, be Remy's number one, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Also on your list is number 2, right, Jason?
Yes. Yeah. Very close to RR.
Yeah. So in a year where you had, which is also on your list, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, a lot of people said this was the better multiverse movie.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say it was the better multiverse movie?
Mm-hmm. It's a better movie. I mean, the Russo brothers are producers on this film.
Are they?
They're attached to the film.
The Daniels. They always talk about the Daniels with Everything Everywhere.
I know the Russo brothers. Daniels,
Daniels. Yeah, it's
the writer, Stephen McFeely.
It's Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert were the two like.
Those are the directors. Directors. But I know the Russo brothers were attached to this movie, I believe, as producers.
Oh, okay.
They might have been writers. Either way, basically, yeah, they just copied and pasted Marvel ideas onto this movie. So it is a ripoff in that sense.
Along with sprinkling in the Matrix. I mean, I felt like that was
this movie is literally a Marvel movie had a baby with the Matrix. And it's really fun. It's a really fun movie. It doesn't have too many slow parts, even though it's like almost 2.5 hours, I think 2 hours, 15 minutes. I think Michelle Yeoh does a great job as like the lead, getting what's his name? K Hui Kwan.
The dad, Waymond.
The short round. Like this dude's done has had 2.5 roles his whole life, but but he's awesome. He's so good in it. His stunts are great. He does. He plays a great character. Jamie Lee Curtis is super funny as the IRS agent. 1 trillion years old, James Hong. I don't know why. Why is this man still making movies?
They had to wheel him around in a wheelchair throughout the whole movie. That's how.
Dude, I know. He's so old. And I'm like, is he putting does he have 100 grandchildren and great grandchildren that he's putting through college by still making these roles happen? I don't but I mean, I can really appreciate his dedication to just keep on going. But my God, he's so old.
I think he's waiting around for the eventual sequel to Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes. I was just thinking about that movie. God, man, that's such a good role for him.
I just thought it was really creative. I really love the visuals of the movie, the humor, and just And I think all the characters had pretty good arcs for the most part. I think this is just like the action. It is, even with all the multiverse travel and the comedy, it's still, I did a pretty good job of giving all these characters kind of meaningful arcs. Not all of them, but a good handful of them, the main ones, to just keep you kind of engaged through the whole thing. So um, yeah, I think it hit so many points that I really liked, and in ways that I wasn't expecting. I didn't have super high expectations for it when I was going in. So when I did see it in theaters, I walked away and I was just like, wow, that was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Um, and yeah, I think it just did enough for me in a year where I just didn't see a lot of movies that I liked. It did enough for me to be like, yeah, this is probably my favorite movie of the year.
Jason, your thoughts on the movie?
Yes, I loved it, and it was definitely a very close number one for me this year too. I just recently saw it though. I just saw it like a couple weeks ago. It was on my list. I don't know why I didn't get around to it. And I saw it on the plane actually, and got about halfway, almost finished through it. And no, yeah, 3/4 of the way, and we landed, and I couldn't finish it, so it stuck in my mind for a while, and then immediately came home, bought it on Prime, and rewatched it and finished the whole thing. I loved it, but it was a one of those type of movies that I thought about for a while, and it was even cool to just see that, have the beginning of it, and think about how it was going to end for whatever that 12 hours took me to get home after that, and then finishing it up. But so different than any other multiverse movie, and I liked that, where it was taking the concept that we're all really kind of familiar with at this point and doing it a little bit differently, and then adding that kind of Matrix vibe to it too, where you're kind of downloading the skills of your other lives. And one thing that always sticks with me in this movie, after watching it a couple times, is we're following the character, um, that her life was all the choices in her life were the worst possible choices to make. Like, you could have picked A or B, and she always picked B, every single possible choice. So we're left with the life that, if you had made all the wrong decisions of life, this is what that life would be like. And it's so funny to see that, and then the fact that she's able to tap into so many other lives because she is at the lowest, the worst point, and has the most opportunities, in the center of all of the other decisions to make. I thought was some really cool concepts. So it's like little things like that I have stuck with me in this movie, that something like RRR is not going to make me think about, this very deep, parts of that movie are nowhere near this one. And so, yeah, I could go on and on about, there's some really like subtle family things, and each character's progression, and like enjoying stuff at this life and not waiting for the next, that we probably have a whole episode about.
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out to me about this movie did not make my top 5. It just barely missed. But what stood out to me was that it was very apparent that all the actors were having a lot of fun. And I think it was really cool the way that Michelle Yeoh's character and the other actors could go from playing a badass to playing just a regular, like, scared person, and just kept flipping that on a dime. And the way the actors played off each other was really funny, really brilliant. Jamie Lee Curtis it was like a hilarious role for her to play as this just curmudgeon-y, just villainous character. Yeah, it was a fun movie. I don't know anyone that didn't like this movie. It was tremendous.
Jamie Lee Curtis, what, best supporting actress at the SAG Awards for this one? I mean, a lot of people got some awards for it, but she did a commemoration speech, and ended up getting to hear it, and how much she's praising a lot of the other cast, and this is exactly like that. Like, had a lot of fun, and working with all these people, and her love for Michelle Yeoh and everything. And another thing I learned about the casting in this movie is it was written for Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan was supposed to be the lead role of this movie. Like, they had written the whole thing, and he was, set, and then something happened where he couldn't do it anymore. Their second choice for the movie, which you guys would love this one, Aquafina, was supposed to be the lead role for this one.
What a near miss.
Yes. And signed her. Yeah. And she was about to show up to start doing it, and something happened with her schedule. and they couldn't.
Her schedule was too overbooked. She was too busy doing the other 37 projects for Disney or something.
I mean, yeah, you've seen how much she is on everything, so it's not too surprising. And Michelle Yeoh
That
was
would
like
have been
the
awful.
third choice for this lead role of this movie, and how well that she was able to do a Jackie Chan style role, which I feel like the dad was so embracing Jackie Chan as far as like fight scene in the beginning with the fanny pack, and putting like the reaching back and just grabbing all of the rocks from the fish tank and filling up the fanny pack, and then whipping that shit around. But how much of that movie was choreographed with using so much of the elements in the room, and that was such an old school Jackie Chan style of doing fight scenes. And man, the fight scenes in that movie. Oh, okay, I got a funny story. So when I'm on the plane, I'm watching this movie, and the scene happens where the daughter shows up for the first time in that hallway, and she whips out the double dildos and starts beating that guy with them. And I start cracking up, and I'm like hitting me and my wife next to me, like, you got to see the scene that's happening right now. And I guess I start like a little bit of disturbance where it's like other people are now watching what I'm watching on my TV. And it's this woman just beating this other guy with dildos. And I'm on a plane, with like at least like 30 people that could see, behind that. And I think nothing of it. And we finish the flight and get up. And I'm getting my bag out of the top, and this older dude right behind me comes up and he's like, how about that scene on that movie you're watching? I'm like, I know, wasn't that crazy? He's like, I could not believe that lady was just beating another guy till nuts. And we're having a conversation about that scene in the middle of the plane, and other people like commenting on it. I'm like, wow, for this movie to like inspire this kind of conversation, immediately, like that says a lot,
Dildos do bring people together. Now, you guys left out the Northman from your list. It was my number 2. It's on yours? It's 4. It's 4?
I'm so upset with myself I haven't seen that movie, because it checks a lot of boxes for me. I don't know why I haven't actually.
No, definitely on my list.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It was a movie that I liked when I saw it in theaters, and when I rewatched it, I really liked it. It is a very dark, gritty. It's hailed as the most realistic Viking movie you could possibly see. It has brief moments of great action and incredible set designs and choreography and stunts, all brought together by Alexander Skarsgård. Massively great body and just peak physical, just looks incredible. Just towering monster of a man with 2 axes as he's going around slaughtering people. I mean, there's that element of the movie, which is great. But then there's also the Viking revenge quest, very, tried and true historical type of story that we've seen before. But it just felt this movie felt very much disconnected from Hollywood. It didn't feel like a movie that was produced in a studio with a big budget for CGI and all these great battle sequences where they have 100 ships on fire in computer generated form. No, this is a very personal revenge quest, and the way that the movie kind of builds throughout, it gives that story of revenge of, do the ends justify the means? It also intertwines Norse mythology, and the way it's depicted in the movie, you don't really know is this really happening? Is this just how the inhabitants of this world see the world? It does a great job of giving that element to it, while also having a very grounded, obviously stylish, very stylized once you get to the end sequence. But just a very refreshing movie from Robert Eggers. Also directed 2 other weird movies, which is The Witch and The Lighthouse, which are very strange movies. This movie is definitely more of a mainstream appeal movie. But if you like violence, gore, and a giant hulking man killing people, this is a good movie.
Look no further.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, I'm always going to be pretty excited and just buy into any movie that's like putting a lot of effort into realistic adaptations or realistic takes on anything historical, that's always going to be up my alley. I think just a very just in the literal mud, grimy kind of a movie that I think we can all just appreciate as being like, we're not here to make it look any different than it actually would be, make it look pretty, give anybody like really modern sob story vibes. Is just like, this is how shitty it was. And I think it's a little slow at parts, because it's just, I think I'm a little bit thirsty for just like, give me pure Viking malice. Like I could watch 2 hours of just Vikings killing each other, and that'd be great. So I think that's just my own personal desires in there, but yeah, I think Alexander Skarsgård absolutely kills it. Very an actor that needs more opportunities. I think good supporting cast as well. It's like William Dafoe just has a little role as a freaking weirdo, which is fun. Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Claes Bang,
something like that.
And Anya Taylor-Joy. Like, I think everybody does great. No, there's no weak links in this whole movie. There's no weak links. And yeah, pretty traditional story as far as, the revenge, dig two graves for yourself kind of thing. But yeah, visually very, very well done. Yeah, gritty. Just a lot of good things to say about this movie. I think, and yeah, it was better on the rewatch. Better on the rewatch for sure. I think the reason that is just in my 4, I would say, is it's one of those things where I felt like there was just multiple parts of the movie where not a lot is happening and it's a little more drawn out than it needed to be. But otherwise, very enjoyable and definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I would say that the only thing that was inauthentic that I could point out about this movie was it was distracting that Nicole Kidman's fake face was like, just clearly that face does not belong in Viking times. It was just like, she went very hard over the top in her scenes, but it was very strange. It was like everyone else kind of looked like they could belong in this era, and then her face is like, you've had some doctors in the Hollywood Hills help you out.
One thing that I always distracting to me is teeth. When people have like perfectly white teeth in like times like that, it's like, no, they had like 2 teeth in their head and they were black and falling out to that point. It's like the Pirates of the Caribbeans or any of these like movies where everyone has nice teeth. I'm like, nope, not sold. I immediately lost my suspension of disbelief once I see your pearly whites in any time other than like the past 100 years,
Yeah, last thing I'll say is Len, you touched upon it, the lack of a modern voice in this movie. There is no character that's supposed to relate to the audience where you're supposed to be like, see, these are Vikings. They're bad people. They murder and rape and destroy villages. We already know this, but you see Alexander Skarsgård's character in the opening battle sequence. You just see that he's kind of over this life, but never does he say, this is not right. And he doesn't give this, there's no moral compass from today in this movie, which is so refreshing because we almost never see that in movies today. There always has to be someone to remind everyone this is bad, or that it is a nice departure from the norm.
Nice. Yeah.
From the Northman.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
The Northman.
That's probably sold as well.
Animated movie making its appearance on the list. Neither did we see this. The Bad Guys.
Mm-hmm.
Starring.
Oh, you have it on your list. Interesting.
Yeah,
Aquafina.
Yeah.
Starring, yeah. Shoot, yeah, I do need to bring up the IMDb of all the characters in it, as the actors, the voices. Kevin Hart, I think, is the
Oh no, it gets worse.
No, it's not. No, yeah, I can't remember all the cast on it, but okay.
That's all right.
Sidebar.
You can take a minute to pull it up.
Yeah, well, sidebar is I have a 3-year-old, and so movies around our house have to be something that we will enjoy and she will enjoy as well. And so it's been funny finding something where it's like I'm not watching Paw Patrol or Dora or something like that. It's or some horrible children's movie that is just crappy characters and crappy animation. It's like, okay, it's got to hit Papa's bar first and then, do it. And so it's really interesting where some of these movies this year have been really good as far as in that. But yeah, like Craig Robinson, yeah, he was the voice of the shark in it. You have Aquafina the tarantula, Mark Maron Snake, Sam Rockwell is the main actor in it, the wolf, and a couple other ones not notable, but it was just a surprisingly just fun movie watching it from beginning to end. Like I was in it every time. They have some good songs and good like kid angle stuff to it, but also just enjoyable as an adult movie too, and awesome animation. If you familiar with like the Spider-Verse, kind of like that weird almost 3D-ish kind of cell animated artwork style, it definitely embraced that, but even cleaner looking than the last ones of that style. So yeah, I was surprised with myself that it made it onto my list too, because looking through all the movies that year, I was like, crap, I watched that movie like 20 times, enjoyed it every time.
I was definitely scarred away from this, ever seeing this movie, because when it dropped, I made the mistake of going to Twitter and just being like, oh, I wonder what people's initial reactions are. And it was just a horde of furry porn.
No.
Furry porn that I was just like, oh my fucking God. I forget that these people exist. And then I'll find them in shitty situations like this. So I don't think I can ever see that movie. I cannot unsee what I've seen.
There's probably a version of it on Pornhub.
It probably just is on Pornhub.
Unedited and unaltered from its original cut.
But no, that was one of the many animated movies that I really enjoyed this year. It was on my list. I mean, the other one was Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Talk to me about that. What was the deal with Rescue Rangers?
Did you guys see this one? Neither of you two. Okay.
Too busy watching murder movies.
See, this was another one where the daughter can watch this with me in the room and whatnot, and it was surprisingly good to the point of that me and my wife watched it multiple times now on our own after the daughter has gone to bed. So the best way that I've described this and sold it to people is that it's the modern day Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I mean, it's exactly like it. I mean, almost to the T, where it's and I always have loved this concept, and I really hate how not as many movies have kind of gone this angle where every animated character is an actor. Every Donald Duck is an actor that he has to go to every job interview and read a script just like any other actor trying to portray that role. And they are real people in our world that have lives and apartments and things that even, Mickey Mouse to Bugs Bunny to, and then they take a really crazy angle with, like, in this movie, it being much more newer ones, where we got Randy from South Park makes an appearance in this, along with Scrooge McDuck, into Wreck-It Ralph, to every, kind of animated movie over the past probably, 60 years, and making appearances where they go through a spa, or a day spa, or like a kind of fitness club, and how many Easter eggs are in every actual scene of that, where there's the snake from
spoilers, Jason, you're going back into spoiler mode where you're going to name every cameo in this movie.
I mean, it's one of those movies. Honestly, that's what carries it, is the cameos, and it is the scenes. It's where you see some old, favorites from Thundercats that you saw back in the day, because there's an actual Comic-Con scene where they run through a Comic-Con, and it's like every character from like Voltron is at a booth promoting itself. It takes a lot of the meta of that world, and it's funny. The whole basis of the movie is people or these characters wanting to get modified, I guess, for this day and age, where they'll take a normal cartoon character and they'll CG them into a CG version of themselves. So it's like the Baloo that played in the Jungle Book back in the day has CG'd himself so he can play in the remix of the Jungle Book, so it's the same actor, but he has CG'd himself so he can do it. So there's a lot of these very, very funny concepts in the movie that play on that. But I mean, it's hilarious. It's a lot of SNL actors and writers, and a lot of good voice actors in that one too. So yeah, another a great animated movie this year. Oh, did I hear you want to talk about Dragon Ball Super, the superhero movie? Dude, that's on
Dragon
my top
Ball
5.
what?
Dragon Ball Super, superhero.
Dragon Ball Z.
No. So we're past Dragon Ball Z, and now it's into Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, but it's in the same universe.
Yes, Dragon Ball Z is one of the, like, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super. It's like how they've changed it, like the Pokemon shit, But yeah, we're down to Dragon Ball Super. Their hairs goes different colors now. We're like in blues and reds and like goldens and silvers. We're over that just black and blonde hairs that they all Super Saiyan to. So this was a really good movie, actually, and a new animation style, and focused on Gohan and Piccolo, and didn't focus on like the big guys of Goku and Vegeta doing their thing. So I actually really enjoyed it, as Dragon Ball has a special place in my childhood, my heart, and growing up, and still being a 40-year-old man and getting to see new Dragon Ball stuff. I'm like just as happy when I was 12 years old seeing it too,
Yeah, I really don't know anything about Dragon Ball. I really don't know anything about it. Seemed like it would have been in my wheelhouse, but for whatever reason, Pokemon was the only anime that I ever watched, and Dragon Ball Z never came across. But it does seem appropriately violent when it needs to be, so there is that.
Like every good anime.
Yeah.
So tied for 5th on my list, and on your list, no.
Oh no, it's just 4 on my. Or it's
4 on your list.
4 or wait, sorry. It's 2 on my list.
2 on your list.
No, it's 2 on my list.
Damn.
Yeah.
And it's high on my must-see list. I did not see Nope yet.
How can you put it about Top Gun Maverick?
Originality.
Ah! Originality.
That's the biggest part.
Jaws of the Sky. Tremors of the Blue. No, I like this movie a lot.
Yeah, no, it's I went into it like not. The trailer, you kind of go into it not really knowing what it's about. If it's a monster flick, if it's a horror flick, if it's sci-fi, and yeah, I like it. It's a small cast. It's man, there's some really you haven't seen it.
No.
You haven't seen it. Okay,
it's all right.
So,
you can spoil the whole movie, right, Jason?
I'm okay with it. So yeah,
go ahead. Jason, recoil in fear.
No. I'm joking. Please don't spoil.
Yeah, no, I think Daniel Kaluuya.
Daniel Kaluuya.
Kaluuya?
Close.
Yeah, I think that's right. Anyway, him and Keke Palmer, I think, are great. 1, 2. Not Zac Efron is great.
Not Zac Efron.
That's basically what he is. He's just not Zac Efron. He looks like Zac Efron, but he's not Zac Efron. Steven Yeun is good too. Yeah, I like the back and forth, a little bit of the flashbacks, flash forwards, trying to figure it out, and then, but just I thought it was a cool, very creative film. I really just like the way Jordan Peele made this movie, and there's just a couple scenes in this movie that just are so fucking sick. The bloody house scene, which that's not a spoiler. I mean, I don't think that's too much of a spoiler.
No,
the bloody house scene, and the eating scene are just awesome. I think pound for pound, horror is probably the worst genre of movies on average for the amount that are made. How many per capita suck?
But what about per dollar? Because a lot of horror movies are made by people with no money or very limited sources, so it's an easy genre for access for filmmakers that want to make a movie that can have a personal stamp on it. Maybe they don't have the resources of a Hollywood movie, but as a low budget horror movie that's not necessarily a good movie, is it worse than a $200 million shitty Disney movie?
Yes.
Disagree.
Because it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just, it sucks. Like if like almost like your horror movies of your typical, or with your typical jump scares, which is like 90% of horror movies, is either like jump scares or super overly grotesque. That's like the I feel like those are the two common spots that you usually find. And this movie, it doesn't have any of those typical tropes. It's tasteful. Yeah, really like this movie. Yeah, it did. There's like one or two loose ends that are in this movie that I'm like the fucking shoe. That shit still bothers me. I don't understand the shoe. I hate that it's in there. I did like a 30-minute Reddit dive to try and see if anybody else understood. Nobody did. Nobody there. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, other than that, awesome movie. Really, really loved it.
Well, speaking of other great horror movies, this movie is tied with two other horror movies for fifth on my list, which are Barbarian and The Black Phone.
Oh, yes.
And to me, those movies and Nope are like a great film festival threesome that if you wanted to see three unique, mostly unique horror movies, they're a great watch. The Barbarian is a movie you don't want to know anything going into, so I don't even want to touch it. But basically, it starts with a woman going to an Airbnb, and you're seeing the movie through her perspective.
This is my guy.
This is your Whitest Kids You Know.
This is Whitest Kids You Know. Zach. I forget his last name. Sorry, Zach.
And someone else is renting the Airbnb at the same time. Is that
so? Bill Skarsgård is renting. She shows up in the pouring rain in a bad neighborhood in Detroit, and she's there, and she's going to get her Airbnb, and Bill Skarsgård is there, and so you, the audience, and her are both trying to figure out, is this an honest mistake, or is this guy up to something?
Yeah.
And the movie just kind of starts going from there, and it takes turns that you don't expect, and I'll leave it at that. But it was a really good, really good horror movie. It has moments of, where you have to kind of just go with it and it doesn't necessarily make sense. The guy that steals the show is Justin Long. Justin Long enters this movie at a certain point, and he is a douchebag, but I'm so used to Justin Long being the relatable, quirky, nerdy guy. And he plays a douchey Hollywood guy in this movie, and he kills it. That's all I'll say about the movie. I'd recommend seeing this movie. And then The Black Phone was also a very different toned horror movie about a child kidnapper with supernatural elements, where Ethan Hawke plays the child kidnapper. Very creepy movie, very Stephen King-like. Both movies, along with Nope, I would recommend all those movies. Nope was definitely the biggest commercially of those three. Jordan Peele definitely has a unique vision. He's one of those guys, you just got to see his movies because you're going to see something unique and something different. I don't think everything that he tried in this movie worked, like whether it's with the shoe or the transformation necessarily of things that happen. I realize I can't talk about it anymore. Necessarily, yeah, it's like, are those in there specifically, or are you just throwing weird things in there just to keep things like weird? I will. The opening sequence of this movie, when Monica and I walked into the theater, because I hate trailers, so I purposely got there late. And when I walked in, I thought we were watching a trailer, and I'm like, "This is dark. What is happening?" And then I realized, no, the movie has started. The opening sequence of this is horrifying, and I would say the most horrifying thing I've seen in a movie in a while, just because it felt very real. But yeah, so
Worst Mother of the Year award brought her child, someone who was definitely under the age of 10, to this movie.
Oh.
I was in the theater.
Oh man.
And I was just like, what?
Oh man.
This
No.
poor child.
No.
This poor child. There's some shit in that movie that child never should have seen.
But then again, like Jason's talking about how his daughter, like he has to watch movies that are appropriate. I'm starting to get the idea, Jason, for me to not have to watch kid movies whenever it is that I eventually have a child. I'm thinking maybe I start with Saw. So then everything after that isn't that big a deal. I'll watch The Godfather. You can watch Scarface. It's what? It's like 10 people get shot.
Make them numb to everything. Yeah.
If you can get the kid to get over the trauma of Saw, you can watch anything after that.
Oh no, dude! If I ruin my daughter's life by having her watch a movie at the age of 3 that she shouldn't, just see, yeah, I would not be okay with me that. Hey, I'm actually still thrown off by you not wanting to see the previews at the movies, where you will intentionally show up late, where you possibly can miss the opening scene of a movie. Like that is like. I could never bring myself to do that. I have to be there even before the previews start because I need to be immersed in that theater. I need to be comfortable in my seat. I need to let the movie start going because if I walk in and the movie's already started, I'm throwing my popcorn up and walking right out. Like, nope. And the immersion is gone. I've missed the first 3 seconds of this, and I know that was the hell you get ready for this movie. So I can't believe you stuck through after like, what is going on? I guess we should find our seats and figure out how much we missed. I'm like, no. Hey, how much did we miss already?
Dude, I hate trailers. They show everything. I've already ranted about this in a previous video. But they show everything in trailers. They show the biggest action set piece. They show the most like twists and turns. There's a great example that I always reference, which is The Island. Are you familiar with The Island with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson?
Mm-hmm. And the big twist. Mm-hmm.
Right. There's a twist in the movie where the movie takes a turn. But if you saw the trailer literally shows you the entire plot line past the twist of the movie. And it's like if you didn't watch the trailer, you just watch the movie. It's probably a better. It's Michael Bay movie, but it's probably a better movie. But if you watch the trailer, you're like, dude, I've seen the entire movie, and you watch the movie. The movie plays out exactly like the trailer. That's how most trailers are now, and it's really frustrating. That's why I purposefully get to theaters late so I can try to skip the trailers. But sadly, Monica keeps getting mad at me because I'm like, oh, we can leave in 20 minutes. We're gonna be late. We're gonna miss. I'm like, we're going to get every movie that's coming out spoiled to us because Hollywood cannot help themselves but try to show you the entire movie to get you to get to the theater. So it's better to show up late.
No, I agree with that. But I love that immersion. I love that getting comfortable, eating all of my snacks before the movie is on. I love that being like, oh man, I got nothing, but I have full bladder now for the next 2.5 hours. Damn. I got a random one I want to talk about.
Yeah. What do you got?
Jackass Forever.
Ooh.
It didn't make my top 5, but it was on my notable list because I still think about some of those scenes. Have you guys seen the movie?
I have not, but I will say Jackass is one of those tried and true. You sit down and watch a Jackass movie, you'll just laugh your ass off. I mean, it really makes me feel stupid of how funny it is. Because dude's just getting kicked by like a donkey in the dick for just the way they pull it off is always hilarious.
I mean, this one has a lot more penis in it, which I couldn't believe, but that is what I still remember is the penis scenes. I mean, those are the ones that are still in my mind about it. So, I mean, I guess I can spoil one of the scenes in it because it's not like a movie where the ending is spoiled. But one of the stunts that they do is they put their penises in between 2 pieces of plastic and they tighten them so much until they flatten their penises till they're pretty much pancakes. They're actual. I did not think the human male penis could get this flat, and it is. And then they start like battling each other or hitting or doing things to each other. But that is and I'm still like cringed out constantly by that, and that's just like the tip of the iceberg with the penis stuff that they do with this one. But it doesn't it checks all the boxes of the Jackass stuff of yes, they hurt themselves immensely. There's new characters that are subjected to all the new stuff, and Johnny Knoxville with white hair still getting the same things done to him, but But I mean, it was a fun movie. I did not expect ever to see more Jackass because I mean, I grew up on that stuff on MTV, seeing it. And now, like this many years later, they're still putting out movies and doing the same thing. And it's somewhat refreshing, but at the same time, sad.
Yeah, I would love to see this movie. You were shaking your head. Are you shaking your head because Jackass isn't for you?
No, not necessarily. I think it's just so dumb. It's so dumb that this is a thing. I can't believe it's a thing.
What do you mean? It's incredible. Like I
guess
this is way more. I mean, to me, it's more impressive than WWE stunts because these dudes like are getting kicked by animals and shot up into porta potties that then spew shit all over them. I mean, it's Johnny Knoxville, Steve-O. These dudes are they're incredible. Like it's really stupid, but it's for whatever reason it just hits my primal instincts of just this is funny. There's nothing that can't tell me that's not funny when they get like absolutely mauled and everyone is dying laughing. There's just something innately male. Might be the manliest like movie / show there's ever been.
I mean, I guess I really shouldn't be talking shit because I literally sound like Steve-O right now.
Yeah, you live long enough to see yourself lose your voice. So circling back to animation, I think 5. Yeah. Numbers are all screwed up. I think 5 on your list. Puss in Boots, another movie I've heard great things about.
Yeah, no, I was really, I won't say I was really surprised, but I was genuinely surprised how much I ended up liking this movie. It barely makes a 2022 cutoff because it was like December 21st of 2022 is when it came out. But yeah, no, really good movie. It's like, it's got a surprisingly deep message. It's kind of impressive on that end. But like Antonio Banderas reprising his role for the 5th time. I think it's his 5th time. Like if you add up all the movies, but yeah, good movie. Barely an hour and a half. Bing, bang, boom, in and out of the theater. You love to see it. Oh my fucking God. The bad guy, Wagner Moura, Pablo Escobar, playing Death is so sick. It's so dope. He does such a good job. And there's some visuals in this movie that I still think about on a day-to-day basis that I'm just like the coins with his 2 sights, the coins in the eyes. Oh, so badass. Yeah, again, and then just really like I love the use of the colors. John Mulaney, crackhead, definitely does a good job as Jack Horner. We can call John Mulaney a crackhead, right? Fuck that guy. Fuck John Mulaney.
I think he's a cokehead.
Crackhead.
Allegedly. These are all allegations, which I think he was the one that allegated that he did all those things.
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm saying anything that John Mulaney himself hasn't said.
He's one of the main characters in Chip and Dale too. Yeah.
Yeah, he makes his way around for being a cheating ass scumbag. But
Allegedly. These are all allegations.
But no. But yeah, his Jack Horner is really good. Selma Hayek, she's very interesting. She seems to be making quite a run these like 3, 4, 5 years. She's got she got the Eternals, Magic Mike, Puss in Boots, and there's another movie that she was in recently that I'm forgetting.
Grown Ups 3.
But no, I just think it was a really good cartoon. I thought it was just it like checks off all the boxes. Good message, good characters, good visuals, and a stellar bad guy.
I'm sold.
A really great anime that was out this year was Hunter x Hunter, and I'm sorry, not Hunter x Hunter.
You shoehorned this conversation into
No, no,
talking about anime. I thought you were going to talk about Puss in Boots, and here you are talking
no, no.
about.
It's coming back around. It's what's the one? Demon Hunter. Sorry, yeah, Demon Hunter went through their arc of the entertainment district, and actually the Anime Awards just happened, and this got one of the best characters I think of the year, and it was this double scythe guy, and it was a really really good part of the whole story, and I got so many feelings of that double scythe bad guy, the big bad wolf from that movie into this anime, and I was wondering if they fed off of each other at all. The fact it was in the same year, but imagine people who saw both those definitely saw some similarities to the two. But oh no, I'm trying to connect all of these, sort of things come somehow back to anime.
It definitely did inspire me to have at some point. I'm going to have a war room with a bunch of weapons, just like walls. I want double bladed axe, and I want 2 scythes.
Yeah,
right next to my nunchucks and my other various weapons that I'll come up with. A bazooka, obviously.
Allegedly. If it's legal in whatever state.
Another weird animated movie that was on my notable entries was Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Oh yeah.
That's a really good movie.
It was a weird year for Pinocchio movies too, as far as like we had 6 of them dropped this year, I think, or something, right?
It's going to get weirder because there is a Pinocchio video game called Lies of P coming out. And it is not at all reminiscent of the traditional Pinocchio story. It is a Souls-like game where you run around as Pinocchio killing, whatever monsters are coming after you. Looks very interesting, I'll be honest. Lies of P. But yeah.
Sorry, I mean, did this character just become open market, like this whole Winnie the Pooh thing that happened? I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. So okay, so everyone can use this trademark or license or something.
Yeah, that's why there's 3 different Pinocchio movies a year, because anyone can make a Pinocchio movie. But the Guillermo del Toro was really excellent. I mean, Walder Frey as Geppetto was so jarring. Just hearing that voice being like Pinocchio, it's like, oh my god, like it's like it takes a while to get used to like this guy being like a loving like father figure when you're just thinking of the fact that he just slaughtered like 50 people in cold blood. But no, it was really excellent. The animation, stop motion, to me was always kind of strange and like impressive, like no doubt about it. It takes a lot of hard work to make a stop motion movie, but always a little jarring. Whether it's Nightmare Before Christmas, but this movie, it's come so far where it is really a wonder to watch and if you watch the behind the scenes, just the way that they construct all the scenes and the characters. And it was just a great story of the traditional Pinocchio that we've seen before, but you get Christoph Waltz playing one of the villains in this movie, and just very nice, dark but not too dark departure from Disney in telling its own tale.
Yep. And that new style of stop motion animation where it's almost like jarring, where it kind of is shaky a little bit, where it's not this smooth sort of like the Nightmare Before Christmas and a lot of those more claymation ones look like. I like how it has that little bit of not reality to it, a little bit disjointedness to it, and it's not as smooth. And the animation on that one was incredible. I saw both of the Pinocchio movies this year, and it took me a while to get through the first one with old Tom Hanks and the Disney one. Yeah, that was pretty bad, and I almost didn't watch the second one because I don't need to watch another Pinocchio movie. And then I started it. I'm like, ooh, this is much different than all the other Pinocchios that I saw. But no, like that was another animated movie that I enjoyed. I just rewatched Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for like the 3rd or 4th time the other day. Where that movie, the first one and the second one were great, and Jim Carrey does a fantastic job of being Jim Carrey in that movie. Which I thought I like those movies. I was never really a Sonic fan growing up, but I like the cast and the quirkiness and all the actors in that movie. So, man, the animated blockbusters kind of hit it out of the park this year, in my opinion.
I think the only movie we haven't touched on is my number 4, which is The Menu. You haven't seen it yet?
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed this movie. It's a weird movie. And it's not for everyone. It is a dark lampooning of kitchen culture and the celebrity chef phenomenon. I don't think I would have appreciated this movie as much as if I hadn't had seen all of the cooking shows, Jason, that you and Mimi are constantly watching whenever I'm at your house.
Obsessing over.
Watching those shows and just seeing that the way people talk, and the chef that yells at everyone and yes chef, and it's this weird culture where you're like, is this how it is? And for it to they take that and they put it in this movie in a thriller. You don't really know what's happening, and the characters are all these. They're not just stereotypes, but they're different. You got your rich people, you got your protagonist Anya Taylor-Joy, who's excellent. Nicholas Hoult is her douchey boyfriend who just thinks the world of the head chef, and I think that it's a very enjoyable movie where it just keeps getting darker and it keeps taking a turn where you're like, you laugh at moments that you're like, am I supposed to laugh at that? But the head chef, Ray Fiennes, is just excellent. I mean, you just look at him and you're like, yeah, you strike me as a Gordon Ramsay type. And some of his lines he has are just incredible in this movie. So it's definitely not for everyone, but for me, it was the perfect amount of weirdness, displaying how kind of celebrity and chef worship gets turned on its head in this scenario.
I couldn't agree more. The only reason it's not in my top 5, and what I kind of thought about with this top 5 is this movies that I would rewatch not just once but multiple times, and then also like recommend to people. And The Menu, watched it once, but I don't know if I'm going to see it again. But I think I'm a little bit more biased in this because I work in the restaurant industry. I've worked with chefs like that before. I work, in a high-end restaurant where it's kind of like that sometimes. So it hits a little close to home. So I've found myself where I can watch these cooking shows where it's this chef, when contestants, doing these things on TV and making these dishes. But when it's like a little bit closer to home, like what was that one that got me anxiety all the time? The Beast, I think it was. The Beast, was it the one where it was that guy running the little spot where he's like a Michelin chef and he goes back to run his the Bear. Yes.
Oh, the show on Hulu.
Yes, the Bear show. And it gave me anxiety every single time I watched an episode of that because you live in that life. And I felt a little bit of that watching The Menu, where it was, I've waited on guests like that before, or I've dealt like a chef like that before, or, heard like, I love you, chef. I love you too. It's like, oh my God, this is the culture I'm living in sometimes. So it was a great movie, but something that I'm going to subject myself to all the time. No thanks.
So there's our top movies 2022.